Hello, 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 and welcome to this Sunday art craft stream. And we're going to be doing a diamond painting of Silhouette of Ursula, which I'm really excited to start. But I am running late because I took a nap and didn't wake up until 2. Alarm did not go off, you know. So I'm still setting up my cameras, still doing some stuff, working on stuff, and Callie was taking a nap too, and she wants to go back to that. So she's going back to her favorite spot in the closet, and I have no control over that. But I hope your Sunday is going less hectic than mine currently. It's just having some issues. Alright. I'll fix that once we get the cameras on, which we're going to do now. It's very exciting, isn't it? Don't really do all this stuff beforehand. Okay, that looks okay. Don't mind me just fixing my camera a bit. Right. There we go. We can zoom in a little bit. Outside heavy today, but that's okay. Let me turn on the other camera. Which is kind of the more localized camera. But it just does not want to participate today. It keeps swinging wildly. What is going on? What's going on with it? Uh, what? No. Do not understand why it's being this dramatic. And it is being dramatic. Is it gonna stop moving? That's exciting! Alright. Oh, and I need to change the title. Give me a second. Oh, I don't know if that's how you spell it. Let's find out. Silhouette's a hard word. I always do that. I always flip the H in the... I always want to do silo, but it's still... Oh. There we go. Alright. So now we're going to get started. this is the bundle it comes in. I just figured I would, well, partly I didn't open it because he started real late. And part of it was because I actually wanted to show you how these kits come. You unroll it. Make sure that it's the bottom part is visible to y'all. And it comes with a pen. I have a different pen that I use, but it comes with a pen, the wax, and the little crafting, the bead holder. Oh, I have to get my other bead out. And it comes with all of these. First, before we do that, we want to spread this out so we lay it flat. Hang out, guys. There's some double-sided tape. You could use regular tape. That's what I used last time, but I ran out of regular tape this week, so double-sided it is. I like putting it on the cardboard so I can move it off of this table when I don't need it. So I can move it about. I don't know if that's double-sided tape is going to do the trick. And I'm going to have to flip the camera just a second to get this under so we can actually see what's going on here. There we go. So you can kind of see the bottom of it. There we go. Things you don't think about when you're doing these crafts is camera angles. But man, am I making it visible today. Alright, let's see if we can get this to stay. I don't know if this double-sided tape is going to do the trick. I have some masking tape I might use. Because this is just, the mat is super thick and it does not want you to stay down. So we might do some of this. You know, use what you got. Here. Do that one on that side, but that's okay. I also have washi tape I could have used, but washi tape will definitely not stick. Alright, there we go. Let's get some paper clips. And let me find my resetting up. Whee! Just to give the best angles possible. Cool. And then let me find my last tool that I want out. So number 4 looks like it's black. Because this is a silhouette, so there's going to be a lot of black used. You drink an energy drink that I've been running all over. We'll get started. In this case, I would normally I will open up these real quick. Oh, they use numbers? Yeah, numbers and letters. Okay. I don't love the ones that use numbers and letters, but that's okay. So normally you would go and find 4. And open up this package. I just happen to already have a whole bunch of black for the last, the Mulan one that we did on stream. And here's my miscellaneous, in case I find other colors. You know what I do need from that? You need the black. The original package. There we go, the black thing. I need those. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna lift up. I usually do between 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. These paper clips, 2 paper clips, the covering. We're gonna get some wax paper on our tool. Start popping away. Oh! Godzilla's here. Yep. Yep. Darling, I appreciate you coming to say hi, but you're gonna get your hair all over my thing. Are you gonna say bye? Love you lots and lots. You know, we bait you a little bit, but you gotta go. Nope, nope, nope. Oh. Hello, bees. Goodness gracious. What is my cat doing? Oh, and there she goes. Short-lived visit from the cat. Pick off the paper clip so she wouldn't get her fluff all over her. The diamond painting. And just as a heads up, they do have smaller birds, like maybe not Ursula, but they do have things like smaller. Like if you're afraid to do something like this, that's super big and time consuming. They also have things like coasters and the like that you can do, which are much better. Excuse my hand. Much smaller. I did bookmarks with my friends and stuff. We did a little diamond painting party, which was great. We did bookmarks, which works out really well because we have a book club. All right, so now I am getting back into it. Okay. Like, what's happening? And they come with everything you need to start off. I went and upgraded to this tray and this because I like it. And they have like clips you can buy instead of using paper clips. I still find I like paper clips the best. But you know, it's to everyone's interests. Or everyone's preference, interests. And I chose Ursula to do next because I have a whole bunch of villains. So I have like Jafar, I have Maleficent. She was a strong contender to do next. And I have a whole bunch of more princesses and stuff. But I decided to do Ursula because I need something fabulous in my life today. I think. This week I just wanted to do something a little bit more fabulous. So, and you can't tell me that Ursula is not fabulous. I think I still have to do the Little Mermaid on my princesses. So I've done Belle and Mulan and Pocahontas, which are probably my top three. Ariel was my sister's favorite, so I was like, my sister was a amazing swimmer, so I think she, and who doesn't want to be Ariel in some respects, but I think that was more her shtick. I was never a sea person. I'm a mountains girl. I am excited for the next thing we'll be doing. Because after this is done, we'll probably be working on some jewelry making, which I'm excited about. Hopefully the thing I want comes in by then. And that'll be fun. See, this art is very forgiving. I find it more crafty than art, like I'm not making the pieces myself, although I have looked into it and you can do it. And there is one that I want to do in the future, but I think I have to get through all these. Because I bought a whole slew of Disney ones. I think I have to do those first before I get a custom one made for me. Because man, am I excited for that. Mostly because the thing that I love the most does not have merch for it, so, because I'm a weird one. I like weird stuff. And not like gothic weird, you can find tons of gothic weird. I just like weird. In a serendipitous um, situation, I don't know how interesting the story is, but I'm the only one in my family with a working washing machine. My washing machine is very old and very small, but it works. Whereas my sister's broke and is waiting on parts, and my mother's broke recently. So that's what they were doing. We went to breakfast this week, or that we went to breakfast this morning, and then we were we went to breakfast this morning, and then they were all going to go to the laundromat. So it was really funny timing of that. I'll pull up some Reddit stories or something. I just feel like I need some more entertainment than just doing this. We'll go to the classic Am I the Asshole pose. Um, oh, this is interesting. Am I am I the a-hole? Oh, I need a different word for that. And we'll just go with a-hole for right now. Am I the a-hole for refusing to combine bank accounts with my husband after I got a good job? Uh, Started an anonymous account not connected to my work related things on my main account. Well, that's probably a good idea. Um, am I the a hole for refusing to combine banking accounts with my husband after I got a good job? Huh. I, a 40-year-old female, have been married to my husband, 44 male, for 20 years. I worked full time with our first kid until our first kid was 2, and he worked part time while going to school. We couldn't afford daycare, and he was failing school because he struggled to work, care for our son, and do school. I moved to doing at home contract work to take care of our kid. He never finished school and has worked part time at an entry level job ever since. Partly due to his own childhood trauma, we had more kids. I struggled to make much with contract work, got an autoimmune disorder, and wasn't able to do any work for several years. Oh, that sucks. And wasn't it, we have lived below the poverty line, living on food stamps and Medicaid, putting utilities, medical bills on credit cards we paid off with our tax returns because we couldn't afford all our bills. I got fed up and realized I was playing into this and bucked the religious indoctrination that told me women shouldn't work outside the home. I took a job as a substitute teacher while I went back to school and got a master's degree in a decent paying field. I just graduated and started working full time and make good money that actually pays our bills. My income goes into my own separate bank account I opened at a completely separate bank from the shared account I have with my husband. When I graduated, my husband asked me to close the account and have my income go into our main account. I had a physical, visceral panic reaction to the suggestion. He said it was too complicated to do things from two different accounts and banks, and he also didn't like the idea that her money is her money and his money is our money. I told him no. I said I got panicked just thinking about all the years I go to check the account to see how much I could spend on groceries and see it empty, or have credit card bills not go through because we didn't have money and go and so racked up late fees, and then the card wouldn't accept any more charges, and we were at risk of having our electricity shut off. I didn't trust putting my money anywhere but my own private account. He was unhappy about it and feels it still doesn't make sense. He did also get tearful and sincerely apologized later for all the years of stress and financial trauma, but still really wants to consolidate our finances and is hurt and upset I won't give him a chance and trust him, am instead trying to control my money. I have a budget set that manages the bills in which ones come from which account and which ones come from which account. I don't combine them and close. I won't combine them and close my account. I can't. I do want a financial partnership situation, but I don't trust him. Am I the a-hole for not being willing to be a partner in our finances, and we work to balance together from one account and instead trying to control the money that's mine? My husband doesn't have bad spending habits. He also has been frugal, and our issue has always been not having not enough money, not too many. That doesn't make sense. I'm like, why are you keeping him? Like, because you have more control, so you're less panicked. But I've offered to put him on a bank account so he has access to the debit card for it and give him the account login info so he had full access to seeing it all. He does not want to be on my account. He wants me to close and use the shared account for everything. So why don't you just make that your shared? We do budgeting together and have things set up to pay an equal portion of our bills according to our income and each get equal discretionary spending. I don't distrust him because he spends a lot of money. I distrust him because he has told me over and over through the years that we're doing fine, even when we literally didn't have any money to cover the basics because he wanted to be the provider, probably. Um, yeah. Didn't have money to cover basic utilities because of the lack of income and promised me over and over he was changing things that never changed. He did care for the kids while I was in school, and I also cared for the kids during his work hours while I was in school. It sounds like you guys have a partnership with at least raising the kids, so that's great. He did a greater share of the household responsibilities because I was working in school, and he's only working part-time, so he had more time. I think you guys just need to go. I I think you guys. I think you just need to go to therapy. There's some trauma there that needs to be dealt with. Like I don't know. That's an interesting quandary. I know with my parents, there's usually a spender and a saver in the family. Um, Not usually. There usually has to be someone that's willing to spend money and someone that's willing to save money. And for a while, they're both my parents were spenders, and that got them into trouble. And then my mom became the saver, and she took care of the bills. Um, but it was always like the money went into joint accounts, except they had their own personal accounts for their own personal money. So like a fun account. But my dad's the spender, and he would spend all the money if it was in there. So he 100% was not allowed on the things, and that was definitely something they had to work through. But yeah, I mean, if he's telling you everything's fine and it's not fine, that's a problem. And I think that's definitely something. And maybe there's something that a therapist can give you to work through that, or a financial guide, or like to I feel like it's a therapist thing at that point, um, because it's about trust. The issue is trust in this. It's not. I don't think you're necessarily an asshole, but you're just like, I just don't trust my significant other, which is a problem. You don't want to live that life. Am I the a-hole for buying my GF girlfriend a scratching post for her birthday? I really hope she has a cat. For context, my girlfriend and I have been dating for 6 years. We were friends and co-workers for 10 years before we got together. Okay. We now own a home together, and with 2 cats she brought into the relationship, we don't plan on having children, so these cats are effectively our babies. The relationship is great, and we communicate well together and are generally very happy. Oh. My girlfriend's birthday is in a few weeks, and this morning I asked her what she would like for her birthday. I'm notoriously not great at picking out gifts on my own. Okay. So she usually sends me links to a few items that she was interested in, and I will buy one for her. This has worked out for us, as I don't have to fret about what to get her, and she gets exactly what she wants. Yep, that seems like a good plan, if she knows that about you. She asked me this morning to think about what I would like to buy for her, as she doesn't want to always pick out her own gifts and would like to be surprised with a gift for once. I rated that I'm not great at picking out gifts, and she replied, yeah, like that time you bought me gifts for the cats for my birthday. Oh. Yeah, that's not really great. For further context, for the first birthday that we celebrated together, she had been dating we had been dating for about 4 months, so the relationship was still very new. She had a small cat tower in her apartment that her cats had broken, and the tower had been lying on its side in her apartment for a while. I asked her why she hadn't thrown it out yet, and she said that the cats were still using the scratching post part of it, so she would leave it until she got around to replacing it. With her birthday coming up, I saw a small cat scratching post at the store and thought it would be an excellent birthday gift, so she needed a new one for the cats. When I when I gifted her the scratching post, she seemed pleased with it and was able to throw out the broken cat tree. But today, 6 years later, she said that the gift was clearly not a birthday gift for her, but a gift for the cats. I think you were trying to be thoughtful. I think this guy was 100% trying to be thoughtful, which is great. The problem is, most women, like, you saw a problem and you fixed it. It's a very, I want to say, male version of, like, when, like, women can't vent to men generally because they're like, well, I just want to fix the problem. We just gonna find a solution and move forward. And really, you're just venting. You're like, there really isn't a solution. It's just something I have to deal with, but I just wanted to vent. And that's a communication thing. Um, and I think she was like, oh, you thought of, the cats, and I love the cats and everything else, and it's a new relationship, so she's not gonna tell you, like, you suck at giving gifts, dude. um, I don't think you're an asshole. I think you were trying to be thoughtful and just were a little off the mark. Uh, but it's such a new relationship. I don't know what the right answer is for a 4-month relationship. Uh, but usually something for the actual person and not the person's pets or something like that. I'm surprised it hadn't come out earlier that wasn't the best gift you could have given her. Like, just like flowers and chocolates, and like, that's all I'm like thinking in my head. Maybe like a nice dinner out kind of thing. It's like 4 months is so early, but it's a really cute gesture because she loves her cats. And I mean, you guys are still together, still married, so it wasn't so bad that she's like, oh, I can't date this guy. Like, I think you yourself said it best. Like, I'm not great at giving gifts, and it's maybe because we don't get we don't get creative, or we don't. And she didn't tell you like, oh, I really wish I had a replacement for this cat pose. She just said, oh, it's broken, but I'll fix it eventually. Like, it was not something that was like adamant. So I am also not that great at giving gifts, so I feel his pain. I try. Um, but but that's so funny. Yeah, it definitely seemed like a gift for her cats, not a gift for her, because it was for the cats. And it wasn't something that was like messing up her life or something. It was just like, yeah, I'm just because they still use it, I'm gonna keep it until I replace it. It's fine. Like if she had said, "Oh, I'd really love to get him a cat house and a this and a that," and she was being maybe fanatical about it, maybe then she'd really like it. But then you're dating a completely different person than is the person that you ended up marrying. So someone with an unhealthy obsession with their cats. Ooh, am I the asshole for making my birthday party vegetarian only? I'm turning 18 in June and currently planning my big birthday party. 50 guests. Ooh, that is a big birthday party. That's a lot of people. Okay. I personally have been a vegetarian for almost 3 years and thus only want to serve vegetarian food. The reason is that I don't eat meat for ethical reasons, so why would I order meat for 50 people and give money to that horrible industry when I don't even order meat for myself? I'm used to only having one or two options on the menu when going out with my family, but just this one day I want to be able to eat anything that is served, and I do not want to feel guilty for serving meat. I don't force my beliefs upon anyone, and I do not talk about it unless asked to. Still, my parents insist I have to serve meat because the guests may be unsatisfied otherwise. When I tried calmly explaining my reasons to my dad, he got aggressive and just laughed at me. In my opinion, as the birthday child, I should be in control over the food, and I think anyone that would make a fuss about eating vegetarian for just one evening is weird. I also talked about it with my friends that eat meat, and they actually agreed with me. So would I be the asshole for only serving vegetarian food? Should I give in? I want genuine opinions because I feel like I'm going crazy. I'm gonna tell you right now. I do not think I'm a vegetarian, and I don't think you're asking an entirely astronomical feat. I remember when I first became a vegetarian, um, and it was in high school. My family laughed too. They don't laugh anymore. They're like, "Oh, you're serious?" Because I've been doing it for a good amount of time. I've been a vegetarian for over 20 years, so they're like, "Oh, it's not just a phase." Sometimes family sees things, especially in youngsters, as just a phase. So, um, and it does seem a little crazy that they can't just eat like one night. It's not like you're like going on a week trip or something. A week trip would be insane, but one night seems like a doable thing. Like we're only gonna have cheese pizza. We're only gonna have instead of pepperoni pizza. Like no one's gonna be like, oh darn. Your parents are paying for it, so that sucks. It is a lot of people, and there might be certain grumblings from certain people, like your dad, but I think it's definitely a doable thing. I don't know what the theme of your party is. Hopefully, it's not something crazy, but I definitely think it's manageable. I don't know if I do like fake fake meat options or anything crazy like that, but you can definitely do like pretzels with cheese and everything else. And if there's anyone that they're worried about being worried about it, they can just give them a heads up. Hey, just eat your meat before you come to the party. Because you requested a non. It's not like you're going to be preaching to people. You just don't want to feel guilty about having a party where you're serving meat and you don't believe in that. I get that. I think that makes sense to me. Ooh, this one was considered an a-hole. Am I the a-hole uh for calling my partner taking credit for paying a restaurant bill when he paid on our joint account. Oh, he's taking credit for paying a restaurant bill? And are you the asshole? Okay. Let's see what the circumstance is. I'm curious. So me, female 53, and my partner, male 57, took our collective kids out for dinner tonight. My partner paid the bill and as usual paid with our joint account. He sometimes picks the bill up himself, but more often it's the joint account that gets used. On the way home, his daughter and her boyfriend made a point of thanking him directly for the meal, and he acknowledged saying something along the lines of, "You're welcome," or "No problem." I didn't say anything in front of the kids, but when home, I checked he used the joint account, and when he confirmed he had, I asked why he'd not corrected the kids, that it wasn't just him that had paid. He went off on me for ruining a good night, and that I was being picky about paying the bill, completely missing my point. My point wasn't about money, it was about him taking the credit and not correcting the kids. I just see that as a common courtesy. He sees me as being unreasonable. Nah. I feel like there's missing context in here that we're gonna get in the comments. I see that as a common courtesy, and he sees me as being unreasonable and bringing up something best left unsaid. Oh. Why? There's gotta be. Yeah, I don't think it's. I think she is being a little sensitive, but I don't think she's an asshole for being sensitive. She's like, well, we're paying from our joint account. Not just paying, like. Someone said that you're being too sensitive and they thank the person that paid and they. I mean, your kids are being great. Did it say? Oh, it's his daughter. It's not your daughter. It's not OP's daughter. Yeah, like, what is he supposed to do? Please, like, that's the part that I like. What would she? What was she expecting? It's like, really, you need to thank your stepmother and me. Like, that probably isn't going to go down well. He just said you're welcome and then moved on. I don't think he's in the wrong for doing that. Interesting. I don't, I don't know if she's an asshole for that, and I didn't see any context that said like. I just don't know why it's a big deal to her. That it's like it came from our joint account. I don't understand why you. Like, I don't think it really matters. It came from both of you. I mean, I guess. Did you not get her a gift and you thought the dinner was a gift from both of you and that's why it's a big deal to you? You said it wasn't a money issue, so is it a perception? Is it something in the relationship? That's my question. I want more. I want to know all the details. Am I the a-hole for not babysitting my friend's newborns? Probably not. Newborns are terrifying. I'm just guaranteed it's that couple's second child. But we'll see. I have an 18-year-old sister and her best. I have an 18-year-old female. Have an older sister, 25-year-old female, and her best friend, 26-year-old female, just had a baby 2 months ago. And I've known her since I was a baby, and she's like my sister. I would have regularly visited her since she gave birth, brought her groceries, helped her with the baby while she cleaned, and I even drove her to the couple's OBGYN appointments when she was pregnant. Her son is so adorable and honestly incredibly well mannered. Well, it's a newborn. So I don't know what you mean by well mannered. It doesn't have manners. It's just trying to survive. But we'll keep going. Yesterday, she asked me if I could babysit him for a couple of hours next week so she can go to a friend's birthday party. I have explained, I've explained to her pride that I do not feel comfortable looking after a baby alone. I've heard of many horror stories and do not want to be in charge of such a fragile life by myself. And that I'm always happy to help with supervision or with someone more experienced in proximity in case something goes wrong. So, in reminder of this, she begged me. I asked about a possible payment and she told me she wanted a favor for free. Well, yeah. Why do you need the payment though? That's interesting. Apparently she doesn't know anyone else who can help, and because she wants to go out on Saturday, most babysitters in our area are booked. At least the ones in her price range. She told me not to worry about it and has brushed off every text I've sent her since. When I asked my sister, she said she felt I wasn't being helpful or supportive to the new mother. For clarification, as well as her boyfriend is in the military and currently not in the country. I asked my sister if she could do it, but she also supposed to be going to this birthday party. I obviously want her to go, but I genuinely do not feel comfortable looking after a baby alone in case something went wrong. Yeah, I understand that. It's interesting that you asked for payment, though. I think that's what made it, like, weird at that point. Like, well, would they be getting paid? Like, then it's not about you're scared of the baby, of the newborn. You're more, um, you're not scared. You just want to get paid. That's what it feels like. Um, but if you are genuinely scared, you're I don't know your situation, but I imagine your parents are in the picture. And maybe you could have her bring them over to your parents. I'm just making an assumption about the parents. And maybe like so then your mom's there with you with the kid. It's like maybe that would work out. And like once your parents go to bed, the baby will probably be sleeping. But at least in case of emergencies, you have someone there. That's kind of my thought process. Like, you could probably work something out, unless your parents aren't in the area. Again, you're 18, so I feel like it's probably close by. But I definitely think you can do it. But if you need that extra supervision or someone there just in case, I understand that. Or on someone you can call. Because it is scary, especially if you've been traumatized by some like horrible newborn stories. Like I'm wondering what like sudden infant death syndrome, like those kind of things. Like that's what I'd be afraid of. But I don't know if that's what she's afraid of, or she's just like the baby's gonna pee on me is the issue. Like I don't know what the situation is. This is interesting. Am I the a hole for leaving my sister's in law's house on Christmas and getting cussed out by her husband? For leaving my sister in law's house on Christmas and getting cussed out by her husband. I have everyone. I would really like to get some insight from everyone that about on what happened at our family Christmas. On the 23rd, my sister-in-law had messaged me and told me that they are throwing a small Christmas party, and she told me that her sister-in-law and her in-laws and her parents are all going to be joining them, and they would really like us to come as well. Very specifically, she named everyone who is going to be there. This will be relevant later. Okay. Later that night, I showed my husband the text messages and said it'd be really nice if we could join them for Christmas, as his whole family doesn't get along, and it would be nice for his mom to see at least some of the siblings interacting. On Christmas Day, I woke up early to make some things to bring over to their house and wrapped up the gifts that I had prepared for everyone. As we approached their house, we saw a vehicle that belonged to a person that me and my husband don't get along with and have had major problems with in the past. I told my husband that maybe it's just the car that looks like his because his sister knows that we would not come over if we knew that this person was going to be there. Oh, this is not gonna be pretty. They did a meet cute for your relationship, essentially, is what it looks like. I told my husband that maybe it's just a car that looks like his. Yeah, yeah. We decided to walk in and give the gifts and say hi to everyone, and both agreed that if the person was invited, that we would just come up to his sister and brother-in-law and let them know that we're actually going to be leaving. Well, unfortunately for us, he was there, and we didn't want to make a big scene, so I came up to my sister in the kitchen and said, I'm really sorry, but we're leaving, and that if I knew he was invited, we wouldn't have just told her right away that we weren't going to come. And I feel very bad for making the situation uncomfortable. She looked really disappointed but understood and decided to walk us to the door. At this point, everything was fine until her husband ran in and started yelling and cussing and calling us names. This was pretty out of character for him, but also very inappropriate nonetheless, especially because, in my opinion, we didn't do anything wrong by leaving Christmas when we were uncomfortable with being around someone we don't like and wanted to avoid any conflict and not make a scene. He kept screaming, calling us names, and telling us that he can invite whoever he wants to his house, which we both never told him that he couldn't. The screaming continued, and his kids, in-laws, and parents all came to see what was going on. Me and my husband quietly put on our shoes, and he slammed the door in our face, so I was curious, does this make us an asshole for leaving the Christmas? No, you're definitely not an asshole for leaving that Christmas party. No, that guy had a problem, and I don't know if it was the person you guys have a problem with, he's just on their side or whatever. Like, I don't. Maybe he had been drinking, and that's why he was acting out of character, because that just seemed. You were just leaving. Like, and he was like, the hell you are! I'm gonna cut you out! What did he expect to happen after that point? You're gonna stay and have a good time? I'm guessing drinking was involved. And I honestly would have just, personally, I don't know if I would have told them why we're leaving. I would have, and I think maybe the sister-in-law believes in what you guys say, and like her husband doesn't, and so like, well, we'll just bring them together and it'll all work out. And it doesn't always work like that, because there are some reasons that you go no contact with people. But man, that's, yeah, you just got cussed out for existing, which is just silly. Um, Trying to think of. I think in the situation I would have said, "Hey, we dropped off our presents, but we can't stay long. We just wanted to come by and say hi, Merry Christmas to everyone." Um, not make it about the guy, just make it like we never planned on staying that long or staying the whole time. We're just gonna go. It's fine. And then when they asked later why you left, you're like, "Oh well, it's because this person was here." Then we don't like that person. There's no way we're staying. Or if they ask in the moment, maybe, but a lot of people won't ask because they don't want to make a scene. So this is, am I the a-hole for taking the money? I, 26 female, had a best friend. Let's call her Kathy, 26 female. I would be the one paying for everything all the time and loaning her money, and she never had any, and her partner never helped her. We were friends for a total of 4 years, and in the relationship, I slowly started to feel as though she was taking advantage of me financially. I'm not well off and struggling myself, but I felt bad for her and did whatever I could to help her, especially when she found out she was pregnant. I bought baby clothes, baby items, maturity clothes. I went into debt to help her because I genuinely loved her and saw her as family, and she was in a bad place. I spent so much money on her, and she swears she'd pay me back, but never did. I even put her mother, 54, on my phone plan because she couldn't afford her previous plan, and it would only cost me 35 extra on my bill. Oh, you generous, generous soul. Oh my goodness. This just hurts to see. Well, that was the biggest mistake I made. Her mother never paid me, and eventually I had to remove her, but her mother had not paid off her phone, so I was stuck paying for it since I signed her onto my plan. So now her mother owes me $300, and to add background, I left my partner and had moved into a new apartment and got fired from my new job due to health issues. So here I am, late on rent, no job, and in debt. I keep contacting her mother saying I need you to pay up or give me the phone to sell. She doesn't respond. I go text Kathy, the best friend, to help me communicate to her mother that I need that money to help pay my rent and I'm in a tight pickle. Kathy says no, that she's not getting in between, and it's my problem for helping her mother. Did Kathy ask you to help her mother? Kathy is enjoying her life with her partner and says instead of paying me back what she owes me, I can move in with her if I get evicted. I'm so distraught at that point because I was hoping she'd help me cover the costs since she's stable and her husband works a good job. I guess I learned my lesson there, but here's where I'm caught between. I lent her $500 to cover what insurance couldn't one time pay, and to my surprise, she actually paid me back. But now that she has Medicaid, they're reimbursing now that she has Medicaid, they're reimbursing me. Here's where I may be the a-hole. I told her that I'd be taking $300 old from the $500 reimbursement if I didn't receive the payment. Yeah, you can't hold her accountable for her mother's actions. She flipped and called me a monster that I'm punishing her for her mother's mistakes. Yes, I do realize it's her mother that owes me $300 and I feel bad, but I've spent so much more money on her and her family to only be told I'll pay you back tomorrow and never see the money. I feel so stupid and gullible for myself. To keep her warm, the reason I decided to take the money from the reimbursement is because I knew her mother wouldn't pay me back, but I would pay her. I don't think these people are your friends. I think these people are using you for money. And even though you don't have a lot of money, it doesn't matter. It's where they can get money. You're willing to give them money. And they're not your friends. And her mother, I mean, she is her mother's daughter, right? Like, she's never going to pay you back anything. I, I honestly, I never give friends money unless it's like, I never expect it back. If someone pays me back, great. But I always am in the option of, I'm handing you this $20 bill. That $20 bill is now gone. If for some karmic reason the $20 comes back to me, then great. If my friend pays me because they're good on their word, great. But usually the people that are asking for the money, unfortunately, in my life, this is what I found to be true, it's they are going to take that money and run, so to speak. They never pay it back. They never, and I mean, she is willing to let you stay in her house, which is pretty amazing. But she has a newborn, so that wouldn't be very fun. Um, but she did try to kind of make it right. But I can understand why you wouldn't want to live there necessarily, and it just and the problem is that you weren't totaling up how much she had taken from you before, because you definitely can't take the $300 out of the $500 she paid you back. Um, That's not fair to her. It was her mother, and if Kathy wasn't involved in asking you to pay for her phone, if you just did it out of your own goodness, then I think you really are screwed. If Kathy asked you, that's a different story. Because if Kathy asked you for the, like, hey, can you just help out my mom because of this, then she has some liability. She's vouching for her mom paying you back. But if Kathy didn't do that, then I think you are shit out of luck with that, and you're never going to see that money, unfortunately. Um, but there's a reason people don't lend money to friends. It's because you don't usually see it back, and if you do see it back, it's just, yeah, I don't know. But I don't think Kathy's necessarily the one in the wrong currently. She's wrong for never paying you back if she said she would pay you back, but you also have to hold her accountable to that. Like, here's how much you owe me, and like bug her about it. And it's like, and if she doesn't pay you back, you have to stop giving her more money. Like, it's like I already gave you that $20, and I never saw it back, and you said you pay me back. Like, and people go through hard times, and I understand that. Um, but at a certain point, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't help other people. It's the old adage about the airplane. If the airplane is going down and the oxygen mask goes on, you take care of yourself first so you can help other people. You cannot help other people if you do not have the money to do so. And you have to, that's an adult realization that we all make. Like, I went into debt for you. Why are you going into debt for them? Like, you don't have the money for the child. You don't have a child. But you don't have the money to support her child. So, I just, there are other ways that you can support friends and with money when they're going through a hard time. Like, you could have made her food, and so she always had dinner on the table, or something else where they wouldn't have to, and then you guys get dinner and you pay for it or something, and without the expectation of money back. But if you don't have money, you can't. And I said make dinner. I did not say go to a restaurant and buy dinner. But, do, couponing dinners or whatever, where you find all the ingredients for on clearance because they look funky or something. I don't know. Here's one that they were determined to be an asshole for. Such a weird title. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend she could make her own brownies and then ignoring her messages? Oh, you guys got into a fight of some sort. So I, 18-year-old female, have some friends. The ones related to the conflict are Aiden, Abby, and Jane. The ones that aren't directly in the conflict but need a name are Rose and Dan. All are assorted 18, female or male. More relevant context, Aiden and Abby are dating and tend to share the same brain cell as well as well fan the other. Uh, they fan each other's flame in the sense of causing them to be more angry. They work each other up. So last week I was making brownies for myself. I never bake, so I decided to send a picture of the brownies to my group chat with a bunch of my friends. Abby responded with, I really wish I had brownies. I'm a sarcastic person, so I responded with, I said, why do you think I made them? Dan answers my question like it was literal, so I explained that I was being sarcastic and I meant it as I'm making the brownies because I want brownies too. So then Aiden messages being like, well, are you going to mail her some? I'm currently on the other side of the country. And I said, nah, she can bake her own brownies. I didn't feel like it was too much of a to ask because brownies are pretty easy to make. Yeah. All of a sudden, Aiden was saying that I was being harsh. And then Abby joined in saying I was being rude. I tried to explain that I just felt brownies weren't that hard to make, and that I said that Aiden wanted her to have brownies so bad they could make them for her. They got more upset with me for that. Then Abby sends me a message saying that she didn't appreciate how I treated her, Aiden, or Dan. Aiden chimes in saying it's rude to bake something and not at least say I would offer you some if you were here. At this point, I felt like it was inappropriate to address this in the group chat with what I thought was 5 people that had nothing to do with this, so I chose to not answer the messages and hope they would message me privately to figure it out. No, you should have messaged them. When you're just like, I'm just not going to participate anymore. No, you were avoiding the conflict. That's a completely different situation than you message them. I hope they would message me in private, because I'm not going to talk on this. No, you message them like, hey, can we talk in private? I don't want this blasted on group chat. Rose calls me later and tells me that despite saying nothing to me, Jane is also upset. She was telling me that they were talking stuff about me in a group chat I'm not in. The thing that made me the most upset was that they weren't saying things like someone call her so she can't escape it, or she's being such an a-hole, boyfriend is influencing her. Obviously, it hurt to see this side of my friends. I deleted social media, ignored all the messages. Am I the a-hole for the situation? You literally ended a relationship over brownies. Yeah, kinda. A bit after I posted this, I did try to speak with them, however, it didn't go great, and they didn't like or listen to what I had to say. It essentially dragged out more of a situation with Dan, to which I countered that how I treat him, he's fine with him and I act like siblings in a way of like making jabs at each other, and that if he isn't fine with it, he lets me know. I'm still annoyed that they might have thrown away our friendship over brownies. No, you threw away your friendship over brownies. And you weren't very nice about Abby and Aiden, because you're like, they each share a brain cell. Dan and Rose and 2 others from the group are still on good terms and are somewhat trying to help diffuse the situation, and I'll admit it's stupid. So the snowball, you guys are so, how young are you? You're 18, yeah, this is an 18-year-old argument. That's so stupid. Yeah, someone put on Reddit when grown men pop up on the sub talking about how 18-year-olds are adults and perfectly fine for men in their 20s and 30s to date them. I want everyone to remember this subreddit. This is what 18-year-olds are like. You didn't offer me brownies even though we're halfway across the country from each other. Well, they can just make their own. Oh my god, that's so funny. Uh, that is you're just kind of an ass. You're an asshole for putting that on the internet. Oh, I'm just saying the word now. Yeah, no, a-hole, 100%. I get why they called you an a-hole. And you also decided to, like, just ignore them instead of, like, going, hey, can we talk about this privately? Like, give me a break. You can't be, that's so 18-year-old. Like, I'm just gonna not, I'm gonna ignore it. I'm gonna delete all my social media because I don't have friends anymore. 5. Calm down. Like, if you don't want to be on social media, that's one thing, but you're obviously doing it as revenge. This person is not the a-hole, according to Reddit. Let's find out if Reddit is right. And I am the decider of that. Well, I'll just put in my 2 cents. It is worth 2 cents, so worth something. Uh, ah, silly. I feel like that last OP would have done anything to get what she wanted. No, I don't know. She was just being silly. I've definitely been there in my life where I've been silly. I remember my 20s. Am I the a-hole for doing the bare minimum when my family left me with all their animals so they could go on holiday? People in the story: Mom, 53 female; Lewis, 13-year-old male; adopted bro Bobby, 33-year-old male; sister Sarah, 23-year-old female; and me, 33-year-old non-binary. All fake names. Cool. Let's find out. First, some context that's important. I'm disabled. Oh, I have chronic pain condition and AUDHD and muscle weakness. It's left me living at home because I can't work. I live in a van next door to the rest of my family. I'm allergic to cats and scared of large parrots. They make me anxious, and the noise they make has me super overstimulated. The living situation is complicated. I'm the one paying the mortgage, but my mom put down the initial money for the house after we lost our family home a few years ago. I'm sorry, you're living in a van next to your house when you pay the mortgage? Okay. Last Friday, my mom came to me in the morning and told me she was going to visit Bobby for a week, who lives in a different state, and she was leaving that night, and I had to look after all her animals. She is taking my other two siblings with her for a family holiday. I was vaguely aware she might be going there at some point, but didn't know the details until that morning, and I didn't know Sarah was going. My mom has 4 large parrots, biggest is a macaw, a goat, 9 cats, 2 dogs, and 2 smaller birds. I have to change kitty litters, feed and water everyone. One of the mum's dogs came to stay with me. The other doesn't like being with me much, so she would be staying over there. I'd have to give the dogs his allergy meds and one of the cat's meds as well. I'd have to clean 3 kitty litters every day and let the dog that was over there out twice a day. When I pointed out my allergies and the fact that I'm scared of the parrots, Mom said that I should take allergy meds and deal with it because she needs a holiday and hasn't been on one since we went to Singapore last year with Sarah for a week. She also said that looking after the parrots wouldn't be that bad because I didn't have to touch them, just feed and water them. I didn't want to start a fight, so I agreed, but only did what I agreed to. The whole time I was over there, the birds screamed, I was overstimulated, my allergies flared up, and my allergy meds had me feeling super lethargic and itchy, so I tried to do everything as quickly as possible so I could go home. I didn't do anything more than I agreed to. She came back this morning and I brought her GSD over to her about 6 a.m. because he could hear her and woke me up in his excitement to see her, and she immediately started yelling at me. The dog apparently chewed something up, peed on her bedroom floor, which I apparently opened, and the cat vomited on the floor. Also, the cats didn't have food. I fed them yesterday. Obviously, they would be out of food today. It's 6 a.m., so I hadn't fed them yet. And a bunch of other stuff about not looking after her birds properly. I turned around and walked out when she called me a liar about the bedroom door, and now I'm back home and just so depressed. So I'm gonna for not pushing through the pain and discomfort and instead doing the bare minimum. People are getting hung up on the van thing. I just like to say it's a very nice van, home type van, not a soccer mom van. I have water and a kitchen and everything. It's about 50 years old, so it's a little ratty and everything. But I agreed it isn't as bad as you're picturing. I love teeny houses. You shouldn't be paying for a mortgage for your mother's house while living in a teeny house. The old folks retire into these. That's what this was for. Seconded kind of like these. Yeah, like they put a picture of van homes, which is fine. I just don't understand. It's very nice. Like the house she's showing is very nice. But it's 50 years old, so it's run down, which can't be good for someone with allergies. And I just don't understand why you're Like, I get you're helping out your family, but you're paying the what is your mother doing? Like, how is you? And you also said, like, hey, I can't do this. And you're like, all you have to do is feed and water them. And then they come home and start screaming at you because they have to clean up a mess. And it's like, hey, don't have me watch the people by myself then. Like, you're not the a-hole. That's the. And your family went on holiday without you just seems really shitty. They wanted to go on holiday, so they went. They left me to take care of all the stuff, and I did what was required of them. Uh, and you're like, I'm not gonna spend time in your house because I can't because of the noise and everything. No, not the a-hole. Your family needs a reality check. I'm gonna go on vacation because it's just too much. Well, yeah, when you have that many animals, it's gonna get to be too much sometimes. People be crazy. We have our first color in this thing. Two colors. Okay, we'll do after I finish up the black. That's that's crazy, and I hope they don't ask you to watch the pets by yourself anymore because that's not fair to you. You have allergies to cats, man. Like, I get why you're not living in the house, but I would have just walked out on your family as well. Had they done that to me, I would have been like, peace out. We need one and P. Well, at least one is one and two is two. I've had them where there's been like one is five. You're like, what? And then P, which is 13. So 1 and 13. Let me try this again. One. That's pretty purple. I've I've gone on vacation in the past and had to leave my cat. My cat is not nice. And then, but I don't, my mom's like, I went in and I fed her. Um, but then she scratched my feet, so I had to wear tennis shoes now. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, whatever you can do is great. Thanks. We need 13. And what the heck? Let's just do all of them. Let's have fun with this. Normally I do the off stream, but I'm feeling spicy today, so we're gonna do this on stream. Ooh, I love the next story that I saw. Gotta read this. Am I the a-hole for throwing away my fiance's mother's ashes? I'm sorry, what? How would you not be the a-hole for that? Is my question. What in your mind makes that justifiable? We'll find out. I, a 24-year-old female, have been engaged to my husband for around a year now. We have a seemingly perfect relationship. We split bills properly, care for each other, and have a good intimate life. I don't think that's a very thing for this, but okay. I think she's just setting maybe the stage. This all started around a couple weeks ago, and I'm still trying to process this situation, figure out if I'm in the wrong or not. Oh, I just poured it on top of a thing. I had not opened it yet. That's special. This is why you don't do 5 things at once. A couple of weeks prior, just back to the Reddit story, sorry. Just a couple of weeks prior to this taking place, me and my fiance were moving my things into his apartment, since it's a more spacious place. And ironically, it's closer to my workplace than my old apartment. Now here's where the trouble begins. I'm a clean freak. I need everything to be clean and orderly no matter where I am. That is just how I was raised because my mother has the same tendencies. We were cleaning out his room to make space for the new bed we bought, along with my other necessities I brought along with me. As we were moving out of his old twin-size bed, I found a Tupperware container underneath the bed. It wasn't marked, nor did he tell me what it was. I assumed it was old food left under his bed since the container was foggy, so I marched to the kitchen to throw it out. Later that night, he began frantically looking. Oh. He began frantically looking for something. When I asked what he was looking for, he said he was looking for his mom's ashes. I offered to help him because that's what any normal person would do, and that's when the search began. I asked him what the urn looked like when he kept her in, and what he said next made my stomach drop. He said she was in the Tupperware container due to the fact that he still couldn't come to terms with her passing. This was 2 years ago when she passed. I turned pale, and when I told him I threw them away, he lost his mind. The story couldn't have ended there having found them, but the only problem was a garbage truck had already come to pick up the garbage we threw away. Long story short, after a big argument, I'm staying at my mom's, and my fiance has ceased all contact with me for the time being. I feel horrible, but also, who keeps their mom's ashes in a Tupperware container? Am I the a-hole? Oh, that was just unfortunate, man. Cause yeah, it's weird that he had her in Tupperware. It's really weird, but I don't know how you get over someone accidentally throwing out your mom. Especially because he's still grieving and he couldn't come to terms to put her into the urn. I guess the best policy there would have been to ask, but I get why she did it. She's like, I just thought it was a sandwich. Like an old sandwich in a Tupperware or something. Some leftovers. I didn't expect his mother to be in an urn. Or I expected his mother to be in an urn, not a Tupperware. Yeah, best policy is to ask, but oh, that. How you didn't know that about your soon-to-be husband too is a little weird. You think that would have like come up at some point? Oh man, how? Oh, I think the relationship's over, and I don't think it's necessarily your fault that it is. Maybe you can go through therapy for it. He obviously needs some therapy because he's not over his mother's passing. I'm all about therapy, if you can't tell. Man, how do you go about doing? Oh, I don't know how you go about. Oh, and it went to the garbage thing. Likelihood is you're never gonna find it again unless he has got strange-looking garbage bags. Oh man, I feel so bad for him. He already wasn't dealing with it. Ugh. I don't think she's the asshole. Because it is weird. It seems a little odd. This person's like, you are, because I know the thing about ashes in Tupperware. Like, it's very common for people to put ashes. I didn't know that until this story. That's very common for them to put it because maybe different kids want to split it up, so it's just an easy solution for crematoriums, which I would have asked too, probably. Hey, what's this? And then he would have, yeah. I agree. I don't think she's an asshole, though. I don't. It was an honest mistake. And she was like trying to help him find it and didn't realize that that's what it was. Everyone's calling her the a-hole, but I mean, honestly, I definitely think there's no more gonna be a. Yeah, I mean, I think she learned her lesson to always ask before she cleans out anything, especially containers under someone's bed. But man, that sucks for her. Like, wait, one way to learn a lesson. Like, let me explain why I always ask when someone's like, "Why do you always ask me that? That's so silly." And you're like, "No. It's not silly. Let me explain why I always ask everyone." I definitely think she'll learn to ask. And the comment at the end, like, "Who leaves their people in somewhere?" It's a little a-holy, like that. I'll give you, but goodness gracious, what? That's such a sad story. I'm so sorry for that person. Already, and she knows he's. Everyone's like, "You an a-hole for throwing stuff out." It was an accident. If she had known, she wouldn't have done it. And the fact that she didn't know is maybe part of the problem. And yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to. How do you look at someone after they've thrown out your parent? I just don't know how it happens. I'm sure there's someone out there that does. There's another Earth story where a guy was helping his significant other move, and he he slams on the brakes and the urn goes flying and spills out, and then he vacuums her up at a regular car wash station because there was ashes all over his car. And so he does that and then just puts some dirt in there to try to fix the situation. And it's like, no, dude, what you do is you call her and say, hey, this happened. What do you want to do? You don't just vacuum her up at the local car wash. People be crazy. Uh, am I the a-hole for snapping at a work colleague? I'm very introverted, and during my first 6 to 8 months, I gave this woman the time of day. We're similar age, and she certainly likes to chat enthusiastically. She's my senior and always gets me when I arrive early on my lunch break or right as I'm about to leave. I'm aware of that type of person. I've entertained her for long enough. In the past 6 months, I've just been growing resentful. I realized after she told me her stories time and time again that in fact they changed each time and she overinflates them, presenting herself as the hero of the situation. At times, and then contradicting herself the next. Yeah. I reacted by emotionally withdrawing, making excuses as to why I couldn't stop and chat. This seems to trigger some anxiety within her because she began clinging on to me more and more. I think this person is just lonely. This is what this sounds like to me. The more distance I try to put between us, the more she tries to win me back over. By telling me stories and trying to engage me, I noticed some manipulative behavior, unfortunately, whereby she was trying to get sympathy from others to help her daughter, asking people to do her favors when, in face, she perfectly capable of doing these things herself. But in fact, I think they just mistyped. Having to constantly be in her presence and the fact that she is responding to my distance by trying to bring us even closer is just such a pain. Um, She then began telling me about Charlie, who's gone quiet and stopped chatting to her, so she finds it rude. Evidently, Charlie is actually me. On Friday, I was having a bad day, and she stopped me to chat for what felt like the 100th time that day. I very abruptly told her to stop speaking to me. If evidently I'm needing some quiet time, and I'm not appreciating her constantly coming up to me to chat. On reflection, my tone was quite rude. She ran straight to my manager and started crying, and I haven't been spoken to yet, but I'm feeling such guilt. I just want her to stop speaking to me. Am I the a-hole? Nah, I feel ya. I know what that's like. Um, I think she's just super lonely and doesn't have friends outside of work, and doesn't have. She needs to, like, join something, do something. I know other people, friends of mine, that have also had one of those at their work. It's just unfortunate. They are irritating to deal with, especially if they're taking up your time. I always just put it back to the work, like, hey, I need to go do this job now. Unfortunately, I don't have time to talk unless it's work related. Da, da, da. That's always what I would do. Um, yeah, snapping at her probably wasn't the best choice. I don't think you'll get pulled into the office because I think it's a constant issue with her. With every new employee that comes in, they probably have to have that sit down once they pull away because she's gotten to be too much for people. So unfortunately, she's just lonely. But she needs to find a hobby, a job, something outside of bugging people at work. But that's not work related. It just doesn't make sense. If it's work related, that's one thing. But your personal woes and stuff, that's why you have friends. And sometimes you make friends at work, and it's totally true. But there is a certain point where you're like, hey, this is not about work anymore, and that's all I want from you, so we need to move back to that. And that's just what I would have done. I would have just been like, hey, I need to get back to work, sorry. And like on your lunch breaks or whatever, it's like, hey, I just want some quiet time. I'm gonna go over sit by myself or whatever. Um, I've actually gotten in trouble for being the person to warn people about people like that. It's like, hey, this is how it's gonna go. It's fine. Um, just heads up, this person is very clingy, and you just have to be aware of it. In my case, it was a guy that would follow people home, so I don't feel bad about it at all. Um, he would he was a guy that skateboarded, and he was not all mentally there, which is fine. He did his job, but the problem was is the cute girls at work would follow home, and I'm like, you can't do that. And so I would give the girls a warning, and other guys were like, well, you're stopping him from like getting some, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's following people home. That's not okay. I don't care who you are. If it was anyone doing that, I would warn people of like, hey, just be careful about getting his hopes up about something that isn't happening and stuff like that. Um, it's fine if you want to be a friend. I don't have a problem with that. Just be aware that this is what he's done in the past, and it's not okay behavior. But I don't think anyone was stopping him from doing that behavior. So, and maybe it was wrong of me, but I really don't think it was because he followed people home. And again, it wasn't all his fault because he wasn't all there, and I don't think he realized what he was doing. And so that's why I was just like, hey, any pretty girl that would come in, just keep your distance because he will inevitably try. But anyhow, am I the a-hole because my roommate moved out? Well, did you make your roommate move out? What were the circumstances? For some context, I, a 20-year-old female, am a current junior in college. I met Beth, a female, 19, during my sophomore year, her freshman year, because we were both in the same club. And we immediately hit it off. She seemed like the younger version of me. We got closer and eventually asked her to move in with me. I'm sober, but I like to go out with my friends and have a good time. Beth told me that I inspired her to recommit to her sobriety, but it didn't last long. She started taking edibles, getting crossed, and eventually started experimenting with shrooms. I started getting worried and I wanted to say something, but because I'm sober, I didn't want it to come off as not being rude. Well, yeah, you probably would have. And college is the time a lot of people experiment. So even if you are worried, it's like, you kind of have to. People have the right to their own thing. I mean, yeah. I think I'd find any of your friends that like to have a good time not sober and ask them their opinion, probably. Like, hey, how do you feel about this? Is she going too far? And then have a conversation. Um, but we're not at the end of the story. This would be an issue if it had stayed outside of my room. But there were many nights I would be out and get a text from Beth telling me that her boyfriend had stayed the night to take care of her. I let it slide the first time because I helped my friends too. But after time number 3, I started to get slightly annoyed. This was my room too, and I didn't feel super comfortable with him being there. Yeah. About halfway through the semester, we were both feeling the burnout from school. Also, around this time, Beth started having a lot of issues with her boyfriend. She would constantly tell me about the arguments they got into and how the language that he was using was upsetting her, how their communication wasn't super great and school was impacting their relationship. I would comfort her best I could and try to give her advice, but she always assumed I wanted them to break up, which I didn't. She may have thought you did because she didn't want her doing drugs and he was kind of her drug person. But anyhow, we'll keep going in the story. That was just my little tidbit on how I see from Beth's point of view. Her solution: spend as much time as possible with him. It would be actually impossible to get coffee or dinner with her during the week because she always had some commitment preventing her from making time. Around this point, her communication got really bad. She never seemed to tell me the whole story. Beth would get really upset, constantly call me condescending and patronizing. You probably were being condescending and patronizing. And would tell me I was disrespectful of her time and would pick arguments with me almost every day. It got to the point that the room was suffocating to be in. I apologized constantly, but she would just give me the cold shoulder, constantly opting to hang out with anyone but me. Yeah, you guys just weren't on the same. She wanted to ride the dragon and you didn't want anything to do with it. You guys just aren't meant to live together, period. Um, on the day after, and it might not even be that you were being patronizing, she just felt that way because it's like, oh, you're Miss Soberpants and I'm Miss over here experimenting with life, so. And she felt guilt about that in some way, shape, or form, and maybe it was because of you, and you had chosen sobriety and she didn't. On the day before I was leaving for winter break, Beth texted me that she was moving out. She said that she had submitted the paperwork a while ago but didn't want to tell me until it was approved. It really upset me that instead of working things out with me, she immediately jumped to cutting the relationship off completely. I know this was really long, but I'm sitting in an empty room right now and I can't help feeling guilty for ruining the relationship and causing her mental stress. So am I the asshole? Um, Yeah, I think you're not the asshole. I think you're growing in different directions. And either you were being patronizing because you felt sobriety was a better way to be about and you were worried about her and things like that, so you were being patronizing, and or you weren't being patronizing and she just took it that way. And either way, it means that you guys shouldn't be living together. And she made the right choice. Like, uh, when you're acting like her mother because you're worried about her or whatnot, it's gonna be a problem. Because no one wants that in college. It's like, I just want to ride the dragon and be happy and free and everything else, you know? I don't want someone looking over my shoulder. And just because you'll make other friends, it will be fine. She's not your only friend. It sucks when friendships end. It just sucks. but we live the life we live the lifetime we're living. No, we're only on this earth for a very short time, and it is not worth um a, just consider her your college druggy roommate era. You know, Taylor Swift. This is this era. This is and that's how you have to look at relationships, because relationships come and go. There are relationships that last for a really really long time, but that's not for everyone, especially in this day and age where I threw away the label I needed. Oh no. And I got it back. Yay. Um yeah, I think everyone has different stages in their life, and just because you hit it off at one point, she wanted to go a different direction, which was not the direction you were going in. You were living that sober life, and she was wanted to live a different life, and that's okay. But it just means you guys aren't meant to be hanging out. And I know you feel guilt about it. Like, I wasn't the best roommate. I could have been better, whatever. But you're gonna be fine. You're gonna make other friends. You're gonna have other roommates. You're gonna have a good time. Get back into the club scene. Like hang out with other people that are into your thing, into what you're into. And just because this relationship wasn't the right relationship in the long run doesn't mean all relationships are gonna be that. And you never know. She might have a sobering up at some point and then come back and go, hey, I want to be friends again. I'm sober again. And you can keep me sober because you also practice that lifestyle. And maybe that's what she'll do. Or maybe she'll move on with her life and, you know, maybe she'll be all about the drugs for the rest of her life. But you just gotta have to let people go at a certain point. You can't keep holding on. I need a pen, so I'm looking for a pen. 1 second. Hi, Cal. There's the pen I needed. So we're just marking this with the A. Now we're into letters. I have to see if they have a Bob Ross diamond painting. I know that's a random thought, but I just thought about it. So it's like, that'd be cool. Because essentially what I'm doing is the same thing Bob Ross like puts all the colors he's painting with. I'm like, I'm emptying out the colors and setting up my stuff. That's the thought that just came to my brain. Because I'm strange. And I like Bob Ross. Ooh, interesting. This is not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for wanting my wife to stay home? Which is interesting. Curious to see where this goes. I work as a technical director and manager for a theater. While they finish refitting my new office, I work mostly remote. During that time, my wife, who to be clear I love more than anything, would not leave me alone while I was working. She would come in many times a day to tell me about how the receptionist at the place was huffy with her, or that her little sister was fighting with their partner, or to show me TikTok videos. It got to be a real problem. We had several conversations about how she can come get me if she needs me while I'm working, but please chill out on all the little things. She would be sorry and it would be okay for a day or two, and then she would start again. I know she's just doing it because she's lonely while I'm working, but she won't go make new friends. She always wants to come out with me to shows, which I don't mind, but she does the same thing while I'm trying to run load in. Fast forward to present day, and my office is finished, so I have transitioned to full on site work. She is upset because she came with me to today's show. She said she's going to hang out in the office with me while I worked. I told her no, I don't think it's a good idea. I have a lot of work to do before the crew gets here for load in. She got upset that I don't want to spend time with her. Sorry, that just hurt my soul. It's not that, it's just I want to work when I'm at work. I told her I think it might be better if she stays home when it's a show like today, one where she doesn't like the show but wants to just go on an adventure. But she is currently sitting in my dinner room mad at me. So let me have it. Am I the a-hole? A lot of people have asked what kind of company lets us while staying around or similar questions. I'm the only paid employee of the theater owned by the town and run operations. So her being there isn't a problem in and of itself. The issue is just not letting me work. As long as the show and the rentals go smoothly, there's no company or boss breathing down my neck. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you're not the a-hole, and she needs to go find something to. She's like codependent, or she needs to go make friends. I know it's scary, but she needs to put her in therapy, do something, get her out, get get her out and about. Like, and I would honestly ask her, like, do you want to do therapy with me? Do it as a couples thing, so she loves being with you, so you'll go together. And you're like, hey, I just need to be able to work when I'm at work. I love you. I think you're amazing, and I want to spend time with you, but I cannot focus on work because all I want to do is stare at your beautiful face. And we've tried this before when I was working from home, but and so get a third party in there and maybe get her some out of being codependent and lonely and everything. So I don't think you're the a-hole. I think you can probably do it in a way that works for you, but I think couples therapy is like, hey, I just want to go talk to someone, make sure we're all on the same page, not even like a big threat or anything. Just like, hey, let's, we can always work on a relationship. It's great. Blah, blah, blah. Am I the a-hole for getting up and leaving games night because my flatmate and ex impression of me during the game felt humiliating? Oh, probably not the asshole, just from the wondering. I am wondering. Backstory: I, a 38-year-old male, was married to a guy for 6 years. We got divorced and he moved out and we stayed friends. After a couple years, he needed a place to rent and I had a spare room, so he moved back in as a lodger. Especially if you guys are still friends, it just didn't work out. We've both had severe mental health problems. I've suffered from depression for years. Feel you on that. Which has flared up over the last few weeks. He has various issues, and on top of that, a substance abuse. Yeah, I can see why you guys separated. He also drinks way too quickly on social occasions, which has caused embarrassment for me in the past. Yep. He often also takes out his negative feelings on me when he's drunk, which is why you guys are not married anymore, I'm guessing. Tonight was his birthday night, so we had a couple of people over to play games. One of them I'd never met, and the other only a couple of times. So his friends. Not a big deal. He was getting drunk way too quickly to the point that I pulled him quietly aside and told him to slow down, but he didn't listen. One game off, consists of a series of challenges where two players face off in a series of fun challenges. On my turn, I got drawn to face off against him, and we had to do impressions of each other, and the others would judge whose was best. That's a sticky situation. That's just gonna end up being awful. Like, I don't think there's a way to win that. He went first, and his impression was this, verbatim. Oh, I'm so depressed. I'm so down all the time. I'm really depressed, even though my family's great and rich and does everything for me, but I'm just so down and depressed. I instantly got up and walked out without saying a word and went to my room. He came and followed, trying to say it was just a joke, that one of the other guests he knows he met is met in a psych ward, and that we're open about mental health. But I felt utterly humiliated that his first thought of an impression of me in front of people with whom I've never discussed my mental health was to mock my mental issues. Yeah, you didn't bring it up yourself, so. I refuse to come back out because he's still drinking, so it will only be worse, and I'm too embarrassed to face others. He has since come to try and talk to me again, despite me telling him to go away, and told me that me refusing to come back out and hang out is really insulting to him and asked me why I'm being such a dick. He's also drunk at this point. I don't think you can talk to him. In response, I told him I don't want to share a flat with him anymore and have given him his month's notice. I've given him multiple chances before when he's been. Yeah, I don't. There's a reason you divorced him, unfortunately. And I know you're trying to be a good person, but. Uh, Multiple chances before when he'd been drunk or high and acted up or made me more depressed, and finally I've had enough. Despite this, he was incredulous, saying, "What? One chance and that's all I get?" So am I the asshole for not going back out of this to socialize with? No, not at all. And on top of it, I think he triggers your depression, so I don't think it's good. And I hope that you get help for depression. I'm sorry you've been going through a bad time. We all, well, us with depression, we go through our ups and downs, unfortunately. It's just a nature of the beast. Um, so I feel ya, and the grass is always greener, and I think he also is suffering from some kind of. Oh, you said he had some issues as well. So yeah, you're not the asshole for feeling that way. I would be. I think anyone would be humiliated. You're like, I've never met you, so the first thing you learn about me is that I have mental health issues, and it's not. It wasn't like a funny ha ha kind of thing either. What he was saying was just mean. He's like, I'm rich and have nothing to be depressed about. It's like, no. It's like, there's a way to do that in a funny haha way, and that's not what it was. Not sure how to do it uh, in a funny haha way. Maybe making it more like Eeyore. Maybe. But I don't think it would be funny haha anyhow. Hey, he probably shouldn't have gone there. Even if the people are open about it or whatever. You didn't bring it up. It's not really his story to tell. And that's what he was trying to do. So, yep. No, I think you did the right thing, and I think if he continues to drink, you can't have him as a roommate because he's gonna destroy your stuff. Well, I mean, I don't know if he's actually doing that, but from the way he's abusive towards you, and you don't need to deal with that. He's not willing to change because of his own issues, which is fine, but you just can't be around it because it's not going to help you be in a stable situation either. And you're trying to be nice, but sometimes nice isn't the best. Like we said earlier, you gotta take care of yourself before you can help others. And if you're not in a good mental place, and that person helps trigger and make your situation worse, which I think they probably do, you don't need to be around them. That's okay. It would have been different had you been talking about your depression in front of everyone or something, maybe. Or if he had done the criticism sandwich. Like you do criticism, but you're like, I'm so beautiful, and da 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 da, more like that. Maybe it would have worked out, but you never, you never, you never know how people are going to react. So I think it was kind of silly of him to go that direction. We finally got to 13, which is the one we need, so I'll do the other ones offline, but I did that just dumb people. But like undumb my situation. Cut the whole top off. I don't normally do that. And I usually separate it from the long line of stuff. I don't know what I was thinking. Like over these. There's a lot of them, so. Cool. A gray color. And then I need one of the one, which is like a plummy color. I need one of these. What color? Which is 13 is P. Alright, we're going back to putting on the other colors. After I finish this one, I just realized there's no music. We'll add the music back in. Ba-ba-ba. Am I the a-hole for feeding my kid dinner? Sorry if this is long, trying to paint the full picture here. I like details, so let's find out. I need more wax. More wax. That's already right. My ex, 33 female, and I, 32-year-old male, have a son, 8 months. Or 8 male. I'm not sure what they mean by that. The 8M. Could be 8 months, or it could be, I think it's 8 years old. Probably. Other than the odd disagreement, we have co-parented very well for quite a few years now. We have an agreement in place, but it's flexible. We sit together at the sports. I go over there to play with him when it's not my designated time. We do holidays together. You get the idea. My son plays hockey, and it's become his whole identity. It's all he wants to do ever. I grew up playing hockey, so definitely an 8-year-old. I grew up playing hockey, and his mom is not sporty in the slightest, so it's something that him and I bond over, and he is always asking for me to play with him. Thursday night after his practice, he asked both his mom and I if I could come play with him in the basement after his game today. He has a setup in his basement at his mom's with a full size net and sheets of fake ice. We both have the okay, and all was good. At the game today, I told her that the outdoor rinks were finally good quality and ready. We are Canadians, eh? So I was going to take him out to do that instead. She was fine with it, and he looked like a kid at Christmas when I told him. After his game, we went straight there and played for 2 hours. Okay. He then told me he was hungry. After playing hockey for 3 straight hours, no doubt. Important to note that this kid gives no warning. He goes from fine to starving in 3.2 seconds. It's kids. And has an utter meltdown like he hasn't eaten in 6 years every time. It's a known thing and a running joke between all friends and family. We were much closer at my place, and I had not been given a time to have him home or mention of plans, so we went back to my place so I could make him dinner quick before I took him back to his mom's. I got a text from her as we were eating. She was planning on ordering them pizza, and I wanted to know how much longer we would be. When I told her we were eating already and I would drop him off soon, she got extremely snippy with me. It's just essentially telling me that I was stealing her time and that if I did that to her, I would be pissed. It went on and on, especially because I honestly can't figure out what the issue was. Should I have checked in and see if she had plans? Maybe. Should she have said she didn't plan for them? Also maybe, but she told me it wasn't about the food, it was about me stealing time from her. From the time we left the game to the time I dropped him off, fed, was less than 3 hours. Am I really the a-hole here? You should have texted her saying, hey, he's real hungry and you know how he gets. I'm just going to feed him because we're close to my place. Um, Probably should have told her. But I don't think he's. They. So it's a 15-minute apparently. I was trying to figure out why they called him an a hole. But apparently it was a 15-minute drive. And yeah, 15 minutes is not enough to like change your plans necessarily without like going, hey, he says he's hungry. Can we go and just get food at my place because I'm closer or something? But still, I don't know. I don't think he's necessarily. I don't know. Doesn't feel like he's an a-hole in the original, but I think he says stuff in the context of the comments that changes. And also, like, why don't you have snacks on you is a good question. If you know he goes super dramatic from not eating. Yeah, based on your responses, I'm changing my vote to a-hole. You're doubling down on why it was fine for you to do what you did without recognizing that your co-parent is telling you. Why on earth would you go about messing up a flexible situation? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's him doubling down, no, I'm right, no, I'm right, no, I'm right in the comments is what made him the a-hole in that situation. I'm like, because the original story wasn't super a-holy. Or it didn't seem super a-holy. But he's also putting himself in the best light, so. But yeah, quick text would have taken nothing. It's like, hey, he's hungry. Do you mind if I feed him? And she would have just said, oh no, we're planning on having pizza. If you don't mind, just bring him back. And then you just take him back. That's how that could have gone. Much easier. And considering you had him for the 3 hours or whatever, you are kind of breaking into her time. No, no. I'm sorry, I have to read this next one. Ooh, and there's an update one next after that. Oh. So, am I the a-hole for traveling to Japan? How does one become an a-hole for travel? I'm terrified of the answer of this, but um, hello, 18-year-old female. I've always dreamed of traveling. The idea of seeing new places, quite literally what I live for. I have begged my parents since I was 10 to get me study abroad when I was older, and even when I was accepted into a program, I turned it down because I could sense they were uncomfortable with the idea. I've denied a boarding school opportunity as well as 3 different class trips to other countries because my parents could not afford it, and it was a responsibility to pay for it. No, I get that. However, 2 years ago, I got a job because I wanted to have my own means to pay for college and a new instrument. My major is music education and performance. It only recently occurred to me that I have actually made quite a bit of money and I have the means to make a trip my senior year. I began to discuss doing a trip with some coworkers to Japan for about 4 grand, but I'm not very close to them. So recently I asked my mother if she would be interested in traveling with me instead because I go to college, as for both of us it would be about 6,500 and we could split the cost. We would have spent that money 3250 on a vacation anyways. My father was to express how he is not willing to travel to Asia, so this is not something I included him in. Now that we are coming closer to actually booking the trip, my family is telling me that this is extremely childish thing to do and a waste of me and my mother's money. I understand I have big expenses coming up, but I did before graduating. This is probably the only time in the next 4 years I'll have money to do this. My father is upset that it is the same year as my brother's wedding, even though this is my graduation year as well, and he's complaining about what he will do this summer then. He also firmly believes I am clueless about travel. All I do all I do is I make itineraries to travel to different countries, and that it will cost much more than I have budgeted. I planned every last penny and even some $500 extra for emergencies. That sounds smart to me. Basically, I'm going to Japan with or without my family, but I'm scared that this is placing so much stress on my parents or siblings. I have to go to. I have the money to go to Japan. My family wants me to put it toward college. You've wanted to travel your entire life. I don't. It's your money. Do what you want with it. Your family's just being a little. I did not expect the conversation to go that direction. Family's just being a little crazy with it about it because it impacts them. I think not because it impacts you at all. Unless you really are being. I don't. It sounds like a really small number to me for a Japan trip, but if you've already got the itineraries of what everything costs and you have money just in case, and your flights are included in that and everything, I think you should do it. Live your life. There's an update to this one, and it's the am I the a-hole for asking my spouse not to take my medication? I really hope it. I don't. You really shouldn't take someone else's medication. Like I know. Okay. The original post. Hold on, I want to see what the original post was. And it was background. My spouse, let's call him Jamie, and I have been together for 10 years and have 2 kids. Their mom died 2 months ago. Jamie has consistently taken my RX medication over the years, specifically my Adderall. Jamie has an RX for it, but they go through their own RX too quickly and run out. Yes, I know there's addiction problem here. It's complicated. I have to count my medication regularly, which I loathe doing. 2 days ago, I saw that 7 pills were gone. I confirmed Jamie. They said they took 3. The next day, I told Jamie that I've realized I can't stop them from taking the medication. I've tried, even used a lockbox. I can only decide if I want to put up with it or not, and that I've decided that I don't want to put up with it. I said if it happens again, I will leave for a while and will be honest about why I'm leaving. We're close to Jamie's family, so if I left, Jamie's family would notice and ask why. Jamie's freaked out and said that if I shared this with their family, it's a huge betrayal in our marriage. You have a problem, sir. Everyone's like, you're the you're the a-hole to yourself. Get out of this relationship. Ah. So I don't. So this is the update. I don't think I had the strength or courage to end my marriage on my own. I was staying in my marriage for my kids. I developed feelings for a friend and understood it was reciprocal. Nothing physical happened, but this person made me realize how badly I was being treated. At that point, I was able to look at my parents' relationship. They've been married for over 40 years and see the similarities. My mom is a high functioning alcoholic and something else. She was often unstable. My dad enabled her constantly. I knew that I didn't want that for my kids, and I don't want to be my dad. But I also didn't want to end my marriage for another person. I needed to be certain that even if this new relationship didn't work out, that ending my marriage was still the right thing to do. She had a different marriage. That must have been in the comments. Thanks for the follow, Winter Moon. Sorry, I'm so distracted by this. Um, she had a different relationship going on the side, like emotional cheating. So she's also the a-hole in that respect. I'm sorry. Um, yeah, you have to end your marriage because your husband is addicted to Adderall pills. They weren't strong enough to end the marriage without having met someone else first. But yeah, he blames you and your new partner. Of course he does. I'm so confused. That base story had nothing to do with this story, this update. That's really weird. That's a really weird. Like I don't know if I that it almost looks like they're attaching to a different story because they're talking about drinking and he was addicted to Adderall, so I don't know if those were actually linked, even though that's the link they gave us. Am I the a-hole for wanting my wife to clean up after herself? I'm very curious as to what she does that's super messy. Mostly because I like messy things. I'm a project person, so. Let's do a different color in a minute. I was so distracted by the last set of Am I the Asshole stories. This done, and then we'll put the other color down, which basically looks like the same color. So, wanting my wife to clean up after herself. My wife is a 27-year-old female, and I, a 30-year-old male, have been married for 7 years now. And for all 7 of those years, we've both been somewhat messy people. Okay. Good to know some context. I've always been the kind of person that yo-yos between the immaculately clean house and the level 5 hurricane where you have to step over random items to navigate a room. From what I could tell before we got married, my wife was similar, and you can imagine that when we began living together, we didn't really change. I've always known that I share equally blame for causing these messes, so I never brought it up with her. Who am I to ask to be cleaner when I haven't figured it out myself? 2 years ago, we had our first child, and we decided that I would stay at home with the baby and my wife would continue in her career. This meant that I would also take on the bulk of the responsibility when it came to keeping the house in order, i.e., cooking, cleaning, etc., because she wouldn't have as much time to do so. I've been happy and content with this arrangement and feel that we have fairly equally split the load of life between us. This is the part where I might be the a-hole. Since having a child, I've worked much harder to keep the house in a more consistently clean state, and I feel proud of the personal changes I've been able to make in doing so. But being the one mainly responsible for cleaning has meant that I'm often cleaning up after my wife. I don't have an issue with the idea of cleaning up her messes within reason, but I really feel like she could be putting in more effort into cleaning up after herself, or at least putting things away when she's done with them. A few examples of what I mean. When she's done making her coffee in the morning, she leaves the handle on, coffee grounds in, dirty unrinsed mug in the maker, and milk all over the frothing wands. This makes for a tough cleanup when I go to clean. Yeah, milk on the frothing wand would drive me nuts. All you have to do is rinse it off right away, and if you don't do that, you're toast, man. It's gonna be a messy, messy mess. Like, it'll take forever to scrub it off because the gunk. Ugh. Everything is dried and caked on. Yeah, that's awful. Leaving dishes, garbage, and clothes, etc., all over the house. Leaving plates, cups, cutlery, and leaving crumbs or similar food mess on the couch and other surfaces after eating a meal. Getting a bunch of toys, paint supplies, coloring books, etc., out to play with our son and then leaving it all out. I understand I have agreed to be the person in charge of keeping our house clean, but it really feels like she could make my job a lot easier with a minimal amount of effort. Whenever I have tried to talk to her about it, though, many times she agrees, apologizes, and nothing changes. I feel guilty asking her to change this when I know I have very similar flaws. I also feel guilty because I agreed to be in charge of the state of our house. Should I just suck it up and clean it because it's my responsibility, or is there a better way of talking about this? I wonder if anyone has a better way to. It's because you're a parent now. That's different. Like, there's another human being that's being raised in potentially the filth and the mess. And that's like some of that is like filth. Some of it's fine to me. Like I get taking out toys or whatever, and you just end up with a thing of toys, which can be irritating. But like some of that's like gross and like just rinsing off the wand. And I also wonder if maybe you guys have some ADHD or something, which stops you. You just go on to the next thing. Um, it's everyone's like, it's a reason to divorce her. I'm like, I'm not saying divorce. I just think you're taking into consideration that you're raising a child now. Yeah, you might need to rearrange the way that you do stuff. Generally speaking, like yeah, if she just leaves it in the sink to soak or whatever, like have a cup that's specifically for the frother to go into that already has water in it or whatever, and that way at least you're not having to clean that up, that caked off stuff, because that's awful. I've definitely been there. I used to have an espresso machine that did a frothing thing, and if you didn't wipe off the that's why you see it at Starbucks or whatever when you go in any coffee shop, they'll use a wet rag and wipe down the very hot frothing machine just because it will just be a caked on awfulness. But yeah, I think she definitely has to. I think you have to. Maybe it's a. Maybe you have an organizer come in and like give you guys things that actually work for you, where you guys, it's just a big bucket of toys that you just toss them into real quick, or you 15 minutes do a 15-minute scramble at the end of the night and see like race each other to see who can clean up more. Like make it a game for you guys. Like these are things that I do because I also um I don't like it. I don't like doing it. But I do find myself doing it more lately. I look at cleaning up my house as like self-care now. It's just like I like how it looks after it's cleaned. So I just like it gives me better mental stability when my house is like at least picked up. And it doesn't have to be completely done, but at least like I'm taking steps toward it. It makes me feel better mentally and stuff. So it's definitely something to think about. There's a lot of different techniques you can use to try to mitigate mess. And I do wonder if ADHD is maybe a part of why you guys are so messy because you just move on to the next thing so quickly. Um, I'm not considering it though, but there are ways that you guys can work together to make your life a little bit easier. And just because she's at work working does not mean that you're not doing anything. You're helping raise a kid and you're keeping the house, you're doing the laundry, you're doing all the other stuff, but the basic pickup stuff should still be partially her responsibility. And the food stuff's everywhere is gross. That's where I draw the line. That's just because you end up with bugs, which is gross. I remember as a kid, my mother once, we used to feed our dog under the table food we didn't like vegetables or whatever. Well, my mom did a really horrible lesson to us. She once, um, we were feeding our dog under the table, and so she let the food just sit there. She didn't clean it up because she wanted to show us what happens when that happens. And it was maggots. It was gross. Never forget that. So that's why I'm very adamant about like not leaving foodstuffs around. At least get it into your sink. Um, and that's like basic stuff for your wife too. It's like, yeah, or you have to pick up after the baby and yourself, and you're doing all the dishes, and you knew she was messy, so it's definitely a tentative situation. She's like, oh, I'll try, but she's not actually doing anything. I think you have to find a way either to work with her by doing like all right, we got 15 minutes and we're gonna go to bed, but we really need to pick up this place before we go to bed, and stuff like that, and taking pride in your home and stuff like that. But if you can't do that, you might want some therapy. I don't think you need a divorce over it. I think it's much more like a situation where you just need a third person that's not in the situation, maybe creating some space, or maybe explaining why she has a problem with cleaning and why you have changed, and being able to have like a sit down and conversation like that. And when I say therapy, I mean any kind of guidance, because some people are religious, and so clergy will help with that, or that kind of thing, or a therapist, or they have family people that specialize in family situations. And you guys don't sound like you guys have a bad situation. You're just trying to make the best life for your kid. And some of that stuff is just gross. And you are doing stuff all day, so. But picking up after yourself is just the. And that's the other thing. When I had roommates, um, my rule was anything that was like communal, you picked up after yourself. If your room's a mess or whatever, and I know it's different because you're married, but the communal area has to stay clean because of other people using it or whatever. And I always made that a rule. I'm like, I don't. If it's your bathroom or you're this or you're that, that's fine. But once it becomes communal, then you really have to make sure that you're picking up after yourself at the very minimum, because then everyone's doing their part, even if you're not in charge of doing cleaning or whatever. Ooh, the other option is you're like, well, I can go back to work and we can get a babysitter to pay for that and a maid. Because that's the other option. I mean, I get why you'd want to stay home with your kid and help raise them. Um, but that's another option. It's like, hey, we can just switch up the situation. And I feel like she'd pick up more if she realized how much you guys were going to spend in childcare, because it's ridiculously expensive. But I think there's a way to manage it. I don't think it's like the end of the world. And people can change and work harder at things, and just put in. And it really is a minimal amount of effort, but sometimes it's not possible because of whatever your brain chemistry is, or you know, it's difficult. And she seems like she wants to change, she just doesn't know how to change. And it may be about taking those steps. And I'm not saying your wife has ADHD, because I'm not a professional and I cannot diagnose people. But if she does, and I know there are things that you can do, hacks essentially. Because I don't think she's lazy because she's like going to work and doing all that. I think it might just be she never had good habits. That's maybe what it was, of cleaning up after herself, or she didn't have anyone. She didn't create her own habits, or she didn't. Her parents weren't good at it, and so she picked up their bad habits. All those things could be possible. No, so she does do some, but it doesn't always get done. So our agreement is that she takes care of the dishes and helps me with the laundry. It doesn't always get done, but no one is perfect. I also have days where I don't clean when I should have. I'm not upset with the workload distribution we have agreed upon, just annoyed that, from my perspective, if she were to put things away instead of putting things down, it could save me a lot of time and effort. Yeah, I can understand that. But you're both messy people, so it's one of those. And it sounds like they've been messy their entire life, so it's hard, but I think you guys can figure out a solution. Yeah, someone putting out the a-hole explore ways of making it fun, or teach her to principles of cleaning up as you go, or if you make a meal, I would do all the cleaning before you sit down to eat. That's literally what I do now. I make a real quick meal or whatever, and then I generally put it all and I put it in. Then I'll put it in the sink, any dishes I have, because they usually have to cool down from cooking or whatever. And then at the end of the night, I'll go in and I'll really quickly clean them out and throw them into the dishwasher. And then I get to go to bed knowing that there are no dishes in the sink because I've been pretty bad about that. So in the past, but I'm better at it now. So, but anyhow, that's about all we have time for this week. Um, so that was a little chaotic at the beginning there because of my nap that ran into stream time. But next Sunday we'll be picking this back up. Thank you for watching. Please consider liking and or subscribing. I stream on Twitch or YouTube every Wednesday and Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, playing games, usually with friends. And on Sundays, like today, I do crafts, like the diamond painting that we're working on right now, Lego builds, jewelry making, that kind of bullet journaling, I think was one that I've done in the past. And then if you are into The Sims, on YouTube, I'm doing the 100 Baby Challenge with new episodes of that, new 1 hour-ish episodes of that airing every Tuesday and Thursday. And we will pick this up next Sunday. For the Twitch stream, we're going to go ahead and raid Ferret Software, a ferret sanctuary run by Pirate Software and his crew. And then we will, and it's, the money provided by stream is the money that they use for the sanctuary. It's what runs the sanctuary, so they're able to do it based on just views on their stream. So it's pretty awesome. So we will see you in the next one. Goodbye.